All right, and welcome into the BettingPros College Football Show. Today, we soak in what was an epic day of college football and turn the page with our Week 7 early picks and line movement predictions. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and I'm recovering from a weekend of football heartbreak that lasted into the wee hours of Monday morning, and I'm joined by my colleague and fellow Lurs fan, Scott Bogman. Good afternoon, my friend. What a weekend in the sports world.
I know, man. Just the crazy upsets. It looked like we were talking about it. A lot of people call it an apple picking Saturday, but it was ready for some upsets, and we got a couple huge ones here. So,
yeah,
very, very fun weekend of football for sure. Ended up a little over 500 on my bets on Friday as well, so we'll take that.
Good.
So, decent weekend outside of our Steelers dropping at the very last second of the last game of the weekend.
So. It was a late one. I was trying to keep my eyes open for it, and it was heartbreak nonetheless. But we will turn the page here today. The outline for today's program: we're going to react to Week 6 of the college football season, break down the latest ranking movement, as we allude to some huge upsets all weekend long among some of the powerhouses. We'll also give you an early handicap for the 11 biggest games on the Week 7 slate. I also want to shout out everyone who makes us part of their weekly routine and interacts with us here on YouTube. We see the numbers, we see the engagement, and we thank you for that. This week in the comments, I want to know who is on your no betting list for the rest of the season. What teams have burned you and you're not going back? For me, Bogman, it's Michigan. They've torn my heart out too many times. They're my rival, and I keep betting on them, so I should know better at this point. Who's on your no betting list?
Texas. I won't bet Texas for the luck, but I don't know. I if I feel like I get a good sense of a team, I will bet them even if I've lost on them all year long. So I don't know that I have a no betting, but I have teams that I'm like, I definitely have games where I'm like, that's too close.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going to be a fan and sit back and watch that game. I'm not going to be the guy to put money on it. So there are some games every weekend I won't touch, but usually not a team. Last year, I will say Notre Dame was the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
I got them wrong like 6 weeks in a row, and I just quit betting them. So we're not quite there yet. I've tried to diversify a little bit, but I tell you what, Michigan has been tough.
Yeah,
they have been tough to pick all year. So that is the team. If I was picking one, that I'd probably just be like, I'm just gonna stay away from these guys from now on.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, guys. Who are you not going to be betting here this season? We'd love to hear from you. And before we jump into the games, I do want to remind you, if you want a chance to win a signed Kyren Williams Los Angeles Rams jersey for free, courtesy of our friends over at pristineauction.com. All you got to do is hit subscribe on the BettingPros YouTube channel right now. Drop a comment below on one of our videos, and that's it. We'll announce a winner right here on the channel. So make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new videos are up and to claim your prize. It was one of those weekends, Bogman, where I feel like it reminds so many of us why we love this sport of college football. 5 top 25 teams went down to unranked programs, as did number 9 Missouri, who got whacked by number 25 Texas A&M. Number 1 Alabama, upset by Vanderbilt. The goalpost makes its way to the river in downtown Nashville. Number 10 Michigan lost to unranked Washington when they decided to bench Alex Orji for 6-year Jack Tuttle. Our boy Bridge must have been buzzing down in Arkansas as his Razorbacks knock off number 4 Tennessee 19-14. SMU also takes down Louisville. And on Friday night, the Coos, man, Syracuse, they beat UNLV in overtime. A lot to unpack here, Bogman. Where do we start?
Well, let's start with that Syracuse and UNLV game.
Yeah.
That game was crazy and a lot of fun to watch. Having Syracuse on the money line and plus the points, I was like, all right, I got part of this. Can I get the whole thing now? And we ended up getting the whole thing. Malik Williams got my touchdown prop as well. Didn't get my rushing yards prop, but did get the touchdown prop. So a fun game to watch, a good way to kind of start the weekend there on Friday night going into Saturday. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was one of those fun games that even though it was a little bit later here on the East Coast, I was wide open because there was one of those fourth downs runs by the Syracuse running back, and I thought he was going to get tackled in the backfield, game over, no cover, go home upset, and he makes the fourth down conversion there, and then they get it into overtime, and yeah, just well done by the Orange there, Kyle McCord and company, and then it led to just such a crazy Saturday. I'm not like totally surprised that Michigan, gets beat because, hey, like we backed them. That's what happened. Same with Missouri. Like they were underdogs for a reason at some point. But Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. Like Vanderbilt's kind of been one of those teams, Boggs, where they're frisky, but could they really beat Alabama? And boy, did they.
Yeah, I mean, that game, Alabama got run on. That's what it is. Vandy salted away the clock at the end of the game by running on them, just converting third downs. It was a crazy game, and it's one of those games where I wasn't really paying too much attention to it, to be honest with you, because I didn't take that game, and that was the ultimate letdown spot. But also, Bama is so much better than Vandy. You think, I don't know. I'm just gonna stay away from this one. It feels trappy either way you take it. It was not. Vandy. What was Vandy on the money line? I mean, was anybody taking it? Like, that game was just crazy. The first number 1 victory for Vandy. I did like how they played Nick Saban over the stadium as soon as the game ended. The only place it ain't hard to play at is Vanderbilt. No disrespect to them, but they don't have any fans. Well, the fans showed Nick Saban and Alabama in the world. They took the goalpost and dumped it into the river. So. Just an incredible moment for Vandy football. Really cool to see. And, Alabama's got to get, I mean, that is the biggest emotional letdown that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You beat Georgia in a crazy comeback after you were winning and then drop one here. Just not a great effort. I expect Bama to get up off the mat, though.
Yeah, and now we have just 5 unbeaten teams remaining in the top 25. At the top, it's your Texas Longhorns, my Penn State Nittany Lions, also Ohio State and Oregon, who will do battle this next weekend, and then Iowa State and BYU. They've kind of emerged as the top dogs in the Big 12 right now. Indiana and Cincinnati keep it rolling as well. They're number 18th in the country. And little old Pitt, number 22. They're kind of making things interesting in the ACC as well. Who's the biggest surprise among this group of unbeatens for you currently, Bogman?
Pitt has to be. I mean, that offense, Eli Holstein getting dropped in and doing what he does is so super impressive. Defense is a little better than you expect. They're still going to give up points, but they haven't had the easiest schedule, and they've been winning games. So pretty impressed by Pitt here so far.
Looking at the Heisman race as well, Ashton Genty, he is now the favorite at plus 220 out of Boise State there. Travis Hunter plus 320 as well. I'm now getting 13x on my Travis Hunter Heisman ticket here with those 65 to 1. It's more than doubled in the past week here, Bogman. Yeah, I think we keep it riding at this point. It's so low, I think you have to.
Yes, I'm with you. Just if you have a ticket on one of those guys, you're not cashing out. You're letting it ride. Let's see one more week. I mean, Quinn Ewers going to play again this week.
Yes.
Maybe he can get back into it. I don't know, though. He missed, a couple games missed is not great for that. It has to be Genty right now. It looks like he's going to run for 3,000 yards and score 30 touchdowns. Like, the guy scored a 63-yarder or whatever it was in the first play of the game. Mm-hmm. Utah State's atrocious, by the way. They're not. So, I mean, but the rest of the schedule is very favorable for him to potentially set some records. So, Genty looks like the guy right now. I think other guys will get back in the mix here. But Travis Hunter, to me, I don't know how you give it to someone but Travis Hunter if he stays healthy the whole year. If he stays healthy the whole year and he plays both ways at this level, we've just never seen anybody do it. So I think he would have to get it. But is Colorado going to win enough games for him to be in consideration? That is a true question.
Yeah, we'll talk about Colorado later in the program today. And let's start this party on Friday night in Tempe, Arizona, where the unranked Sun Devils welcome the 16th ranked Utah Utes. Utah, of course, coming off a bye week following that embarrassing 23-10 loss to Arizona at home in week 5. The case of Cam Rising is one, Bogman, that probably should be studied in a lab, because who knows if this pirate-looking guy is going to be taking the field anytime soon.
It doesn't need to be studied. It's just lying. This is on a study on how to lie. He ain't playing. I think he's done.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm just perplexed by it because every report, I mean, you know how getting college football injury news is tough to begin with, and then you got coaches saying one thing and doing another. Utah though is still 2-3 against the spread this season, 4-1 to the under. It's really been that 16th ranked defense that has kind of been carrying them so far. For the Arizona State side of things, they're 4-1 against the spread, 4-1 straight up as well. Their only loss came against Texas Tech. I don't know many people who watched that game against Kansas last week. Kansas has been a huge disappointment this season, but they were trading blows left and right, back and forth. Sam Leavitt, 4 passing touchdowns for him to come back and beat the Jayhawks. But it's really been that 31st ranked defense, running back Cam Scabato, who've been leading this team. Utah currently favored anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 after opening as a 5.5 point favorite. Where do you see this line shifting, Bogman?
Yeah, well, it's already headed a little bit towards ASU here, but the tickets and cash are big on Utah right now.
Okay.
So I think maybe it's going to head that way. I don't think that we have enough information to say one way or the other, though. I think this line will stay pretty stable. I think this is low enough to where ASU is at home. It's going to be hot. You're going to see a lot of rotation in this game in terms of players coming in and out because of the heat. My question in this game is, how does Arizona State have enough push to move Utah on either side of the ball? Can they get the running game going against them? Maybe, but I think it's easier to beat Utah through the pass than it is on the ground. If you're just going to out physical Utah, there's not many teams in the Big 12 that are going to do that,
right,
including Arizona State. In that, this has been their signature. But ASU 90th in passing yards per game.
Okay.
They grade a little bit above average at 68, so this is going to come down to what Sam Leavitt can do with this offense, I feel like. And I am probably not going to be a buyer on Sam Leavitt. So for me, I don't hate the over in this game because this line is set pretty low at 45.5. I think that Arizona State's defense can be had even by Isaac Wilson, who we all assume is going to play in this game, and not Cam Rising. But so I think I like the over more than I like a side here. But if it opens up too much towards one side or the other, I will bet the other side. But I think this line is pretty close to being right.
Yeah. Too early in the week for our BettingPros projections. I'm excited to kind of see where they say the value lies within this. But those underdogs on Friday night, man, they've been frisky. They continue to cash tickets for people.
Yes.
So yeah, I think if this does open up a little more for Arizona State, maybe I would jump on them. But I do like that overplay as well. 45 seems like a pretty low number for these two squads here. Let's go ahead and move to Saturday and the noon slate. We're in Tuscaloosa, number 7 Alabama. They look to rebound from their upset loss to Vandy. I'll be honest for you, man. Like I feel like that was a game you just don't expect. Like you said it, Vandy controlled the time possession, 42 minutes, won the turnover margin, 2-0 last week. It felt like they just didn't get Milroe going on the ground after having a ton of success with that against Georgia. But the South Carolina team that they're going to be facing off against Alabama will be, they just got outclassed by Ole Miss 27-3 here. So are they going to have enough here? Are they going to have enough here to stop Alabama? Alabama now 3-2 against the spread, 3-2 to the over as well. Favored by 21.5 points, Bogman. Is that enough?
I think that's probably too many. I think this number might be right if we get angry Alabama that comes in focused and really does everything they can to, because at this point, I think what your goal should be is to beat everyone convincingly. And you have to have that moniker of leave no doubt, right? Like, we're going to beat everyone handedly. So, the voters move us up and up and up. But they've been run on. I mean, if I gave you 3 chances to guess where Alabama ranks nationally in rushing yards allowed per game, where do you think it would be?
70.
It's 54 for Alabama.
54, wow.
Yeah, 54 for Alabama.
It's not something you expect like ever out of Alabama, really.
No, and that's what South Carolina does on offense really well is they run with Sellers and Sanders, and they were both less than 100% coming in. They didn't look good against Ole Miss. How good are they going to look? I don't trust South Carolina. That's really my thing here.
Same.
For me, I think this number is too far in the Alabama direction to take, so I probably wouldn't take it. This is another one where 50.5 I think might be too low if Alabama really wants to pour it on every team moving forward here. So are they going to be able to do that? I mean, they didn't control the line of scrimmage against Vandy. How are they going to do it against South Carolina on both sides is scary. So my gut says South Carolina, this is too many points, but my gut really says, and it's a big gut, over. So let's go with the over here.
Okay. Yeah, this is another one of those tough ones, man, kind of with like the realignments and the shakeup of just like not having divisions in the SEC and the Big Ten is like there's not a lot of history between these two teams, which you think there would be. Alabama is 13-3 all time, but they've only just played them once in the past 14 years. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. These are games that I necessarily haven't liked to get totally invested with, but I totally understand if you want to go with the over there or wait it out, see if we can get a better number on South Carolina later in the week. Before we continue, I did want to remind you to join our college football podcast group, sync your picks, and use the quick pick feature on the BettingPros sports betting app and get a chance to win free prizes. You can elevate your betting strategy and join the conversation today at bettingpros.com/college. Back in the Berg, the 22nd ranked Pitt Panthers host the California Golden Bears, who have to be reeling, absolutely reeling after blowing a 20-point fourth quarter lead to Miami on Saturday night. Pitt comes in as 3.5-point favorites and 5-0 against the spread after getting the best of UNC 34-24 on the road. However, Cal has been a covering machine still this season, 4-1 against the spread, 3-0 as underdogs. Pitt has that fourth-ranked total offense led by dual-threat quarterback Eli Holstein. Where do you think the line stands on Saturday morning in Acrisure Stadium? Because I kind of want to get invested in Pitt, but California, they've just been so good as the underdog here.
They have been good, but to me, this is a letdown spot. I mean, they were just they just got so up to play Miami, and they had that game in the bag and let it slip.
Yeah.
So that is a tough spot to be in the week after that. That was a late game. Now you have to travel all the way across the country to play one of the hottest teams in the country in their own stadium. That is a tough draw for Cal this week. So my initial gut feeling about this game is I like Pitt. The number likes Pitt here as well, or the public, likes Pitt here as well. So I think this line is going to open up towards them. I mean, Cal is strong. This is going to be strength on strength when Pitt's offense is on the field. Like Cal is strong defensively, 25th in points allowed per game. This is a very, very strong defensive team, and I've always called them underrated, but this is the sixth best passing team in the country for Pitt right now. So I just, I think it's going to be crazy high scoring because Pitt's defense isn't as great as their offense is, but I don't really trust Cal coming off that big loss at home, traveling all the way across the country.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. I'm going to take Pitt and lay the points pretty easy, and I think you need to get this one earlier because it looks like it's going to open up towards Pitt.
Okay. I don't know if you saw it, Bogman, but the gates were trampled down for College game day at like 11:30 p.m. On Friday night. So those fans were there all night long, all throughout the day, boozing heavy, and then get let down like that. So
you could still see the sun coming up during game day. I mean, that was early on the West Coast for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a cool sight nonetheless, and hope everyone out there in Cal enjoyed it. But this is Pittsburgh, baby. We don't mess around out here. Meanwhile, in Southern California, it's now the unranked USC Trojans who will host the fourth-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State favored by 4.5 points here, but they are just 2-3 against the spread this season after beating UCLA by 16 last week. Nick Singleton was a surprise inactive in that game. Drew Aller said something along the lines of like, yeah, I didn't know he wasn't going to be out there until I got out there in the first play, and he wasn't out there next to me. USC, though, kind of been sputtering in Big Ten play here in Bogman. Not totally surprising, but they did lose to Minnesota last week and were outscored pretty well in a game that they were 10.5-point favorites. They also had to have a huge second-half comeback the week before to beat Wisconsin at home. They collapsed in the second half against Michigan as well. I've only bet Penn State once this season, and that was week 1 against West Virginia. Is this another time we should maybe get invested with Coach Franklin, Drew Aller, and company, or should we maybe wait till closer till Saturday to maybe get a more favorable price?
No, I don't think you're going to get that because at least as of Monday, and Monday is early. I mean, the winds can shift and all of that. I mean, let's get a real update on Singleton, right? Outside of, he wasn't available to play, whatever that means. Thank you. That it would be great if we got just a little bit more digging on that. But my question in this game is the turnovers killed USC last week. Can they cut them down at home? Right, that is the big thing. This is big travel for Penn State. Obviously, again, this weirdness of conference realignment and everything. We got Cal going to Pitt. We got Penn State going to Cal. What is happening here? This is a lot of traveling. But to me, it's how good is Penn State's defense? The only team to score more than 12 points against them so far this year was Bowling Green.
Okay.
So is USC and Miller Moss going to be able to are they going to be able to move the ball on Penn State? Or is this going to be like what West Virginia looked like? That game was weird. It was week 1. There wasn't as much continuity for WVU as there is for USC now. And how much does the home crowd play an effect in this game, right? So I think it's going to be okay since it's an early game. I would be more worried about Penn State if this was a night underneath the lights. It's this afternoon. It's just 2:30 or 3:30 kickoff?
3:30. Yep, 3:30.
Okay, so 3:30 kickoff is still fine. You're not
Noon
disrupting the internal clock like you were from Miami this week. So I like Penn State in this game. I think USC is better than we thought they were, but I still don't think they're there yet. So for me, I like Penn State here.
And get him early. You think 4.5 is probably the best number we're going to get for him?
I mean, these teams are both so popular. I could see it shifting one way or the other. So if you want to wait a day or two to see which way it goes, I think if it's under a touchdown, I'm still going to be taking Penn State.
Okay. And remember, Bogman, it's not a cult, man. It's a family. We're a family over here at Penn State. and there's room for you as well, buddy. Don't you forget it. In Cotton Bowl Stadium, we do have your favorite team in an all-ranked matchup between the top-ranked Texas Longhorns and the 18th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners. Texas initially opened up as 8.5-point favorites in this game. This spread has now grown out to 14.5 points in favor of those Longhorns. Quinn Ewers reportedly back at practice. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah. And what I had heard was that if they weren't playing ULM the week before, he could have played. So I assume he's going to be up. Okay.
Oklahoma, they did beat Auburn the last time we saw them play. However, they only covered as a 2.5-point favorite because of a late game pick six. All indications are pointing it will be Michael Hawkins Jr. once again under center for the Sooners here. Bogman, I really want to back Texas here. I think they should, just strength of roster, beat Oklahoma pretty good here. But the Sooners are 7-3 against the Longhorns in the last 10 matchups of this rivalry.
Thanks for that.
That includes last season's 34-30 win to rub a little more salt in that wound. Can we get invested here one way or the other right now, or do we just ride this out till Saturday, where I know all the books are going to want us in on this action?
Yeah, I mean, if you want Texas, I think sit and wait. Because I think the money so far has been on Oklahoma, and this game plays. This is the ultimate cliche game of throw the record books out the window.
It really is
blah,
every
blah,
year.
Every year. It seems like the favorite gets upset in this game. So I'm not gonna mess with it. If you want Texas, like I said, I think the Oklahoma fans are going to make this a better line for you later in the week. And that's the way the money stands right now. It's not going crazy one way or the other. It is like the tickets are at, I believe, 70% to the over. They're on Oklahoma now, but that has already slipped from what I looked at initially on Sunday.
Okay.
So I think this is too many points. That's going to probably be my stance here. I think this always comes to a late score, a touchdown, something, or a field goal game, something like that. So both teams have 2 weeks to prep here. There's going to be some weirdness. There's going to be some shenanigans. There's going to be, Quinn needs to play better than he played last year. That's what I really know. So, I think I'd be taking Oklahoma in the points if I'm betting 14.5. If it gets closer to, if it dips down to somewhere close to 10, maybe you can take Texas.
Okay. Too many points now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just too many points. And I know Quinn is coming back, and they're the number 1 team and all of that stuff. But honestly, throw that out in this game. This game is nasty. It's ugly. It's weird. And it, again, going to be strength on strength when Texas offense is out there versus that OU defense. That's strength on strength, and it's weakness on weakness on the other side. But Texas defense, I feel like, is way better than OU's offense is right now. So if OU doesn't find anything on offense, you could see this turning into an ugly game. But I think with 2 weeks to prep, they're going to find something.
Is that usually a pretty consistent 50-50 crowd split in this game, or do we see more Texas fans at this one?
No. There's a line. So when you watch it this weekend, Seth, look, and you'll see the line between the maroon and the burnt orange.
Okay.
So you'll see the dead line in the stadium. So it is 50-50 because it's closer to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's closer to Dallas. It's in Dallas, so it's closer to Norman than it is Austin. But that is a crazy, and it's at the Texas State Fair. Like the environment is insane for that game.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. In Provo, meanwhile, the 14th ranked and undefeated BYU Cougars take on a wildly inconsistent Arizona team. Arizona has lost 2 of the last 3, losing to Texas Tech last week as 5.5-point favorites. However, they did knock off Utah in between those losses. For BYU, QB Jake Retzloff kind of been a jack of all for them, leading the team in both rushing and passing. The Cougars are 5-0 against the spread. They've also covered by a wide margin almost every single week here. Now they're only favored by 3.5 once again. Is this another opportunity to get invested with a short number and those wonderful folks over at BYU, Bogman?
I think Arizona matches up well with BYU here, which is concerning. BYU hasn't really played a good passing offense yet. They got SMU when they were struggling. They got K-State when they had all those turnovers and penalties and big plays. I kind of want to see if this line shifts one way or the other. There's not enough bets on it right now to have public tracking information, so there's just not enough there yet. Again, BYU is a tough place to go play. Right. It's just it is a hard environment for any team. And Arizona, they're so up and down this season. This is definitely a team where if you're talking about one of those, who are we not trusting? Arizona would probably be on that list for me because I feel like every time I back them, they screw it up for me.
Yeah.
And every time I avoid them, they make me pay. So this game, I think I'm leaning towards BYU here. But I want to see which way this moves, one way or the other. But I do this game is so confusing to me because I love the home field advantage for BYU. It's great. They're 5-0 against the spread. It's tough to not like them, especially when Arizona's 1-4 against the spread. Right? They have not been great. So I think I'm leaning on the home team here. But let me see which way it shifts.
Okay, a little patience there from our guy Bogman. The primetime slate gets going here at 7 Eastern time in Knoxville, where the 8th-ranked Vols try to respond against the 3-2 Florida Gators. Last week's loss for Tennessee ended their 6-0 against the spread streak dating back to last season. The Vols' offense is really what kind of let them down, I think, in that game. Just 7 for 16 on 3rd downs, 0 for 2 on 4th downs as well for Nico and company. Can they respond against Florida, who have now stacked back-to-back impressive wins against UCF and Mississippi State? They're kind of rolling out this 2-quarterback system. Graham Mertz kind of leading the way there, but we have seen some of the freshmen DJ Lagway as well. Tennessee is favored by 15 here, but this line has been bet up quickly, opening at 10. Florida won this game straight up last year as 7.5-point dogs, and they've won 8 of the last 10 against the Vols here. Is it time to is it that one time a year to bet Graham Mertz that our friend Terrell was telling us about?
I can't do it. I just can't do it. And here's the reason is because we've seen Florida get hammered a couple times here. And the wins are nice against Mississippi State and UCF, but to me, the big thing, and I'm not the biggest trends guy. I'm not going to look and see this 8 of 7 and all of this stuff. I roll my eyes at the Texas and OU stuff because I've been, that's a game I'm invested in every year no matter what I'm doing. So, but for me in this game, in those 2 games that Florida won, they didn't allow a sack. That is not going to happen against Tennessee. Tennessee's defensive line, especially an angry, refocused Tennessee, I think is going to massacre Florida.
Ooh.
I do not think this game is very close. I know I know we've had some issues throwing the ball deep for Tennessee. Then that's really what got them against Arkansas. So Nico had a tough time there. This is a big game for him. He's still going to make those young guy mistakes. I just think after last week, they're going to be refocused. And I hate this 2 QB system that Florida has.
Yeah.
I think if you have 2 QBs, you have no QBs is really what it is. And they're leaning more towards Mertz, so maybe it'll be more Mertz. But is he going to do enough to avoid that pass rush? Are they going to be able to run on Tennessee? I just don't know how they do anything offensively. That's my thing. I know this game is weird. I know it's traditionally a strange game, and the crowd is going to be wild and all of that, but I just really don't like Florida. So I think Tennessee is going to beat him into the dirt.
Yeah, maybe if it was in the swamp, I think I maybe could back Florida, but the fact that it is in Tennessee, I just don't think I want to, but it's like you said, I think that defensive line could be a little too much for this Florida offensive line here. Meanwhile, we have another top 25 matchup that will get underway in Baton Rouge as Ole Miss travels into town as 3-point favorites against the LSU Tigers here. The implications of this game will be real for the college football playoffs. This rivalry between these SEC programs is also very real here as well. LSU has been beating a couple of cupcakes lately, but they're still just 1-4 against the spread this season. They also have a top 26 ranked offense and defense, though. Ole Miss was impressive last week, winning and covering 27-3 against those South Carolina Gamecocks. But the question remains here: can Jackson Dart get it done on a bigger stage? You know I love to fade Brian Kelly and company here every single time I get the chance to, Bogman. But I actually think I'd be more inclined if I had to back a team here. What say you, and where do you think this line moves to?
Oh, man.
It's a tough one.
It is a very tough one. And this is what makes it we've been looking at this weekend on the schedule for the entire offseason. This is an enormous weekend. We had to pick and choose games to cut here that are great games.
Yeah.
That we don't have time to talk about. We don't have time to talk about every game. This one is awesome. For me, Ole Miss's defense still has not had a bad game. That's really what it boils down to. Even against Kentucky, when Kentucky held the ball for 40 minutes, they only allowed 336 yards and 20 points or whatever it was. So I think we see Ole Miss dominate this game against LSU with defense.
Really?
I dominate's the wrong word. I think we see them lead this game with defense.
Okay.
I think I do think Jackson Dart's going to be able to throw. LSU's defense has not been good. They did play better a couple weeks ago, but I just think Ole Miss is another team. It wasn't even a scare. They had their loss. They can't afford to lose more games. This is a rivalry game, so this is another cliche. Throw the record book out the window, blah, blah. So you could always see Garrett Nussmeier light them up, right? This is probably the best offense they've played. So that could definitely happen, but I don't know. I think the lack of a run game, the fact that Ole Miss's defense has not let up yet, even in their loss, that is what scares me in this game for LSU. Not, is Jackson Dart going to be able to pass? Sure. I think he is. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be just, they're not going to shut out LSU or anything.
Sure.
But I think that is going to be the difference in this game where it turns. It's a costly turnover for LSU. It is not being able to convert on third downs, some bad third down conversion, something like that. I don't think this is going to be your big mistake game, special teams screw up, something like that. I think it is going to be, Ole Miss leaning on a lead late. I think that's how this game is going to end up. So I'll take the Rebs here on the road in this game. I just don't think LSU has enough on defense, and I think Ole Miss has a lot on defense.
Do you think this 3-point spread is the best we're going to be able to get for Ole Miss? And also, what do you think about this total? 64 seems like a big number here.
Yeah, it does.
But LSU's defense is also cheap.
God, the total feels trappy to me. It feels
Yeah.
worse than the spread to me. So I
Okay.
don't think I want to mess
Okay.
with the total. I think that's probably right about on the line. I think I'm going to stick to being on Ole Miss in this game.
Okay. In Eugene, Oregon, it should be another game that defines the season here. The third-ranked Ducks are 3.5-point underdogs to the second-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State has the top-ranked total defense and ninth-ranked offense as well. They've outscored Big Ten opponents Iowa and Michigan State 73-14 over the past 2 weeks here. Oregon, meanwhile, in that same span, has outscored their Big Ten opponents UCLA and Michigan State here 65-23. They're the 10th ranked total defense and have the 25th ranked total offense. Where do you see the money coming in on this one, Bogman? Is there any value that you can sniff out here early in the week?
No, I mean, we don't have enough bets. I think the public is so split on this game. We don't have enough bets on the spread, and the money so far in the total has been coming in on the under. We did just see Ohio State play 2 and under against Iowa, and really what they did was they screwed around the whole first half and then turned it on in the second half. That was a frustrating game for someone that bet the over this weekend.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. 7 points in the first half. What are y'all doing? So I think this has been, Ohio State hasn't shown much weakness. Oregon has, and I guess the one weakness that they did show was they let Gene run all over them. Right.
200 plus, is that what it was, that game?
Yeah, that game finished 37-34. It was so close. Boise State was really in it the whole game. So how is Oregon going to be able to hold this Ohio State rushing offense, right? Henderson and Judkins. That is a big ask. Is Dylan Gabriel going to be able to compete against this defense? Oregon's defense is good too. This is such a good game. It's right down the line. That's why we don't have a good feel one way or the other on how this line is going to move. Our system has it almost on top of this line as well. So I think for me right now, this is going to be a sit and watch to see which way this line moves. If it gets out too big in the Ohio State side, I will take Oregon at home. If people are betting up Oregon and it slides, I think Ohio State still wins this game from the strength of their run game. So I will bet Ohio State. But let's take it off that hook. Let's get it like 3 or less for Ohio State. That's what I'm going to feel comfortable with.
Okay, yeah, I would love to back Ohio State here as well because I do think that rushing offense will be maybe too much for the Ducks to handle here, but I agree 3.5 is a little bit big of a number, even though, it's still just above a field goal there. Let's go ahead, though. We have another big one in the Big 12 as the 11th ranked and undefeated Iowa State Cyclones head to Morgantown to battle the 2-3 West Virginia Mountaineers. An 8 p.m. kickoff in Morgantown sounds dangerous, as this WVU team is also starting to look a bit dangerous as well lately. They ran into a heavy Penn State attack early in the season, also got mixed up in that Pitt game and didn't come out with that win early in the season. But they have responded with some back-to-back wins here against Oklahoma State and Kansas. They were 8-point dogs last week and won 38-14. Iowa State has the 11th ranked total defense, but hasn't really played a good offense yet this season, you could say. Probably Baylor was maybe the best offense they've played. That was last week. Now they're sitting at 4-1 against the spread, and they have been cooking under Rocco Beck here. So is there any betting value here with Iowa State laying 3.5 points, Bogman?
I mean, strength on strength here, right? We definitely have strength on strength with the WVU offense against the Iowa State defense. That is going to be the matchup to watch in this game. But I think one of the first things you said here, Seth, initially is what I'm going to lean on, and it's tough to play a game at West Virginia at night. Iowa State is a very good team. This is a team that, you win this game, a couple of these big teams lose, you could wake up in the top 10 if you're Iowa State, which is so cool to think about for them. Matt Campbell, such a good coach, one of the best in the country. So you could never really count him out. I think I'm going to stay away from this game. If I like something, I think I'm going to take the over because I think you can score on West Virginia, and I think Iowa State is going to be able to run. Rocco Beck makes some timely passes, and West Virginia I don't think is going to be stopped by too many teams. So I think I like the over in this game more than I like the side, but I'll say I don't like playing in West Virginia in a night game for Iowa State. So I don't really mind a money line on WVU. Don't hate that, and I would be taking them against the spread right now. But I think I like the over more than anything else.
I was thinking the same thing, maybe a sprinkle on that money line for the Mountaineers, but plus 130 is not the best value. Like, I feel like I need more for them to knock off the 11th team right now. Like that's, I guess, I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, I think I just need a better price on that. I feel like I need to get paid for it.
Yeah, I think that's wait. Let's see how this shifts. I mean, right now you have cash and tickets coming in on the WVU side, but maybe it'll flip. So
okay,
you can wait.
Okay,
I think that number might get better. Get more people to bet.
Okay. Let's round out the program here with a nightcap in Boulder, where the new Big 12 rivalry will begin, as the 18th ranked Kansas State Wildcats are 5.5-point favorites against the 4-1 Colorado Buffalo. And it's been a really tale of two seasons for K-State this season. At home, 2-1 against the spread. On the road, 0-2 against the spread. Had an ugly loss to BYU, 38-9 in Provo. Colorado, meanwhile, they got smacked by Nebraska in week 2 out in Lincoln, but they are 3-0 against the spread and straight up since beating UCF, Baylor, and Colorado State. I'd say UCF probably the most impressive of those wins. They were a pretty big underdog in that one. And it should be a sold-out crowd at Folsom Field for Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and company. Do they have enough to keep it within 5.5 or 6 points of the Wildcats in this one, Bogman?
UCF, secretly trash, I think.
Really? You think?
Yeah.
You think they've just been overvalued all season?
They can't put any pressure on the quarterback at all.
Okay.
I think they have the lowest sack total in the country.
Wow. Okay.
They're getting beat up and down the field. So that win probably not as impressive for either side here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the wrong team is favored in this game. I think Colorado is going to win this game straight up at home.
Ooh.
And it's because we have seen – this is one of my gut plays that I've been kind of avoiding this year, but they keep hitting, so I'm going to roll with it this time. It'll probably screw me here. But we have seen Kansas State travel terribly this year.
Young quarterback.
They almost lost to Tulane, and they got smoked by BYU. And now they're going on the road to Colorado. I think the wrong team is favored here. I think Colorado's going to be able to pass. And we know K-State doesn't blitz. They don't put pressure on the passer. That has been the issue. That is what lost Colorado the game, was the offensive line didn't hold up against Nebraska, right? So I think the offensive line is going to hold up. I think Shedeur is going to pick them apart, and I don't think this game is going to go the way that the odds makers have it right now. I do think K-State is the better team overall. I think if this game was being played in Manhattan, I would take Kansas State, because we've seen them beat Arizona down bad in their home stadium, but they have not traveled well this year. This is a tough game to travel to. It's late. It's under the lights again. It's at elevation in Colorado. All these little factors. This is death by 1,000 cuts to me for K-State. So give me Colorado here on the money line.
Okay, plus 175. You think that's the best price tag we'll get, or do you think we maybe see something better later in the week? It's hard to tell because there's a lot of Colorado bettors and backers out there, Bogman.
All the cash, most of the cash right now is on K-State. So
really?
I think we have just a contingency of Colorado haters, right? The media, now that Dion has made some comments and everything, I think maybe we're just too far down the other side on Colorado. So for me, I'm rolling with Colorado in this game.
Okay. I'm gonna wait that out and see maybe if I can get a better money line price later in the week. I'm excited to see maybe if I can get up to 2-1 on that, and 6 points nonetheless feels pretty good against the spread as well. But all right, that'll do it for us today on the Betting Pros College Football Show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back later in the week with our guy Terrell for our picks and prediction show. Until then, like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and podcast feed, plus download the Betting Pros app and sync your sportsbooks today. For Scott Bogman, I'm Seth Woolcock. Thanks for watching. Take care, y'all.
See you.